Yo, what is up you guys? It's your boy Shieldcoomer aka Sirigath, and in this video we're going to cover a Waycrest Manor on a key level 20. I would also like to use this opportunity to kind of welcome you guys back to, my channel and my videos, since I haven't been posting a while because I haven't really done keys in a long while in season 2. I just kind of got burnt out on it, to be completely honest, since the Holy Palo domination started being very prominent, and I just didn't enjoy playing it that much, so I didn't really participate in it. I was just raiding and doing, my weekly stuff, and that's about it. But yeah, season 3, very exciting. Disc is actually finally viable. Disc was viable, it's just now it's actually good and meta. So, if you're a chronic pugster like me, if you like to play with randoms, you're definitely gonna have an easier time getting invites, because we are on high demand at the moment. And the reason for that is because our healing and damage is both absolutely cracked at the moment. But as always, I would like to say that these videos should not be treated as guides. They're not guides, they're simply a video footage of my gameplay and should be treated as such. They're here purely for entertainment purposes, and yeah, they're just here for you guys to kind of see the gameplay, see if you enjoy it, maybe learn a thing or two here or there, or maybe just come here to tell me how bad I am and whatnot. That's completely on you, but I just hope you guys enjoy the videos. I do try my best to make them at least informative and at least somewhat entertaining, so I hope you guys will enjoy that. And here already we are covering, like, as you can see here, these are some pretty difficult mobs. This Etch ability, first week being Fortified is, in my opinion, even harder than Tyrannical, because it's easier to just read up guides for a couple of bosses, but it's not easy to read up guides for every single mob in the dungeon, and you will see me struggle with some pulls way more than some others. To keep people alive, obviously here, this was before I got the 4 set. I do have a 4 set right now as I'm uploading and making this video. However, I did not have it here. I believe this was still before I even had a new 2 set, although I'm not 100% sure, I guess. Yeah, because I'm getting instant radiances, aren't I? Yeah, so this is before I even had a 2 set. I got my 2 set at some point and I broke it into 2-2, which I recommend you do the same. I think new 2 set is pretty strong, and 4 set is just absolutely insane. You guys are gonna have so much fun when you get the new 4 set. It basically forces your Shadowfin to like almost not have a cooldown, and it's super fun to play with. Anyhow, I'll cover some basics and stuff as I'm playing. Obviously, again, keep in mind this is a completely new disc playstyle, so my button pressing isn't optimal. If you want to track my casts and my targets and whatnot, you can see them in the bottom right corner just above the details. They are it's a cool little details feature that basically this can be dispelled, by the way. I just didn't know that at the time because my add-on wasn't telling me that, so I just healed it. But yeah, it can be dispelled. But yeah, pretty much playstyle has not changed that significant. Actually, it has. I can't say it hasn't. So obviously, what you're gonna press will depend whether you have 4 set or 2 set or old 4 set. The current playstyle basically revolves around. This is gonna sound exaggerated, but literally spamming Smite and Penance on loop. It's important to note that we have lost Schism. So Schism doesn't exist anymore. It is now merged with Mind Blast. Mind Blast is basically Mind Blast plus Schism in one, and also Shadow Covenant in one. So they basically streamlined this quite heavily. They reduced our button bloat, which is what we needed. And it's very important that they did that. I think it's very healthy for the gameplay of this spec. We really did have way too many buttons, and honestly most of them weren't that impactful. They were just kind of like there to make other buttons feel impactful, and I just feel like we were so global hungry that it just wasn't very interesting to play. This is the most fun I've had playing Disc, and I've been playing it since Shadowlands religiously. So in both keys and raids at the moment, this is the most fun iteration of a Disc that I've ever seen. By the way, this debuff is basically a dot, similar to how in Brackenhide we had that nasty dot that you had to heal above 90%, which is what I didn't realize that at this time. I learned this later. I have realized it now, so I'm telling you now, guys, I'm passing the knowledge. I would save this is a rare situation in which I would actually use Radiance on the person that's getting damaged. So I always say this, and this in my opinion didn't change. Radiance should almost always be used for offensive purposes, because the goal of this spec is to heal through atonements. We lose a lot of value on a lot of things if we don't penance enemies and rather penance our teammates. However, there are some cases where obviously keeping your DPS alive is impossible through atonements, and in these cases I would either suggest Flash of Lighting, using externals, or using your penance to get that big heal, which is basically our strongest single target heal, and worked in cases like this. So heal the person that gets that debuff with your penance. It's not that big of a deal. You can get it back pretty quickly by spamming smite. As you can see, it goes back really fast, and with force it even faster, and in turn it gives you more shadow fiends and more mindbenders. I prefer to play mindbender in keys for a simple reason that I think having high uptime is just more valuable. I've seen people suggest playing Shadow Fiend. I personally feel like there's not that much value we get from any talents that we would save. Like, there isn't like one talent. If they would give me like 3 talents back, then it would have a lot of value, because I could pick up some nice things. But because it's just one, I actually think Mindbender has quite a bit of value in keys. A lot of, like, Priest Discord doesn't suggest it. For example, they for some reason suggest Shadow Fiend. I personally, like, from just like, you know, my experience from my POV, I just find the gameplay with Mindbender a bit more fluid and a bit more solid. If you guys have any other, you know, thoughts about this, I would love to hear what people think in general. But yeah, I personally play Mindbender in keys. I prefer it for now. I might switch to Shadow Fiend just now that I've gotten the 4 set. I just haven't done that many keys since I did. Because as you can see, this is from the last week with the Fortified. But I could see Shadow Fiend having like a little bit more value maybe on Tyrannical in general, and just kind of like, you know, getting that small bit of uptime on Fortified, so you have it throughout more packs. In my opinion, seems a bit more impactful, and then Shadow Fiend for like the moments where you actually really like need it. But basically the worst thing you can do in the current iteration of this is to just not click your pet. You almost want to have like no downtime on your Mindbender or Shadow Fiend. This applies to both. Also, obviously for Incorporeal weeks, guys, I strongly suggest playing Shackle Undead and Mind Control. You don't have the talent into both of these outside of Incorporeal weeks, but during Incorporeal weeks specifically, it has so much value, especially if you're pugging. People sometimes just forget. Sometimes it's not on you to chain both, but honestly, it's probably best if healer does it. I know people are gonna hate me for saying this, especially healer friends. You know, we lose the least value damage-wise, so the only time I don't do it is if I think that like people are literally going to die if I do it, you know, if I see like there's a heavy amount of healing. But even then, it's like if the debuff goes through, you're gonna die anyway, most likely. So, you know, nasty affix. I'm not a fan of this affix, by the way. I don't think any affix should exist that kind of like forces you out of casting and out of doing your regular thing. I think that's, in my opinion, a bad design, but, you know, Blizzard has some weird ideas with affixes, and they've been trying to figure it out for quite some time, so I guess we'll just have to wait for them to get the balance right, because, in my opinion, like, you can never compare something like, I don't know, Storming with Sanguine, or the Root affix with, I don't know, Incorporeal. It's just an entirely different beast. Or that Dispelling affix is also awful, but it's at least quick to deal with. It's a 1 GCD, as opposed to like having the hard cast and also be aware of where the thing is. And I don't know, I just find this affix very not enjoyable. I know people will say, oh bro, we'll just see it, lol. Yeah, you're right. It is that simple, but sometimes in the heat of the battle and there's a lot of things going on, playing a spec like Discipline Priest does kind of sometimes feel like you don't have that 1 GCD to press, and things can go south from there. Also, I would strongly suggest visiting site Blood Mallet. It has very good sims in terms of who to PI this season. It will also keep changing as they update it, since the season is still pretty new, so I strongly suggest checking it out if you're actually serious about pushing keys and stuff. You really do want to know your PI values a lot of value that this priest has in keys comes from the fact that you bring a PI and Mass Dispel. Even though Mass Dispel got nerfed, don't underestimate the effect of it. Even if it's all every 2 minutes, it is still pretty strong in certain cases. So you know, Mind Suit as well, Grip, all these nice things, Paints Up, you know, passive damage reduction through lenience or whatever it's called. There's a lot of good things the disc brings. This is why we are ranked by a lot of people in the tier lists very highly, if not the best, definitely amongst them. One glaring flaw of the spec still remains, guys, and that is we're still squishy. And with the nerf of Undulated Spore Cloak, which is sadly not very good anymore, a lot of people have went away from it, and I also have, and I suggest you do the same, but that effect is really felt. It really helped us stay alive, that cloak. But yeah, as you can see with these packs, it's all pretty simple, really. Like, there's really not much to say. It's just dispel, heal people that get the debuffs or dots, and like try to stay alive, right? It's not really that complicated. Waycrest Manor is pretty chill, except for like a couple of pulls. There's this one, for example. This one is pretty bad. It hurts quite a bit. I use Rupture here. I actually had this debate with someone pretty recently. I don't really suggest using Rupture that much anymore. I just think it dropped really like quite a lot in value, and I just don't think it's as strong as it used to be. It's not really a powerhouse of a healing anymore. It doesn't really give you that big of shields either. So, you know, use it, of course. There are definitely situations where, you know, you want to use it. I also sometimes use it as an emergency healing when I have to move. I think it has a lot of value like that. I also use it in pre-pull. Like, I know there's a hard pack coming, there's going to be a lot of damage. I just blanket us with the Rupture, and then I just proceed to play off of that to mitigate that little bit of damage, and that definitely helps. But yeah, this pack, as you can see, sometimes just not enough healing possible. People also need to be careful and press defensives and health pots and whatnot. And I also reset my UI recently, so I'm not tracking things as I used to. I used to have much cleaner UI in terms of like tracking people's defensives, people's health stones and health pots and all those good things. But at the moment, it's still not like, it's mostly just default because I'm just a little bit. I've been busy, to be honest, with the raiding and stuff, and I just haven't had time to set up my dungeon UI that cleanly. Disc is also amazing in raids, and I will do something that I haven't done before much, but I will definitely do my best to upload raid videos as well. And I'm gonna kind of try to walk you through my POV so you can also see how I play Disc in raids. Looking forward to that, actually, because I think I've done good research on how to play it, and I'm very prepared this season. Disc is finally, you know, good, as I said, in both raids and dungeons, so it's very exciting for me. I love playing Disc in raids. It's maybe the most fun I have in this game is when I play Disc in raids. It's just so fun to like ramp and mitigate like big amounts of like damage that during some mechanics. As you can see, I mean, this week, you know, Sanguine, sadly, there's really not much we can do about Sanguine anymore. They removed Shining Force from Disc for whatever reason. And, you know, Sanguine, we can just watch and weep as the mobs are getting healed in the Sanguine all the time. It is what it is, you know. I'm sure tanks are trying their best. Try not to get frustrated, guys. Sanguine is hard to deal with. You know, play a tank yourself and play Sanguine weak, and you will see for yourself how difficult it is. I've done it once and never again. It's really not that fun. So, yeah, just, you know, try not to be frustrated at your tanks. Do your best to help and interrupt and stuff, but other than that, there's not much we can do. Okay, so this boss, I'll try to explain very quickly. It's, you know, here it's the stacks, and then this just increases the damage that the tank will take, and also these thorns, and then basically the idea is that the tank should clear the stacks onto in the fire, and basically from what I've heard, what a lot of people are doing with this is they'll wait for around 20 stacks and then clear. Most important thing in my opinion is to not clear this during the Thorn, because if somebody is rooted and the tank is clearing stacks, it's very likely that the person is going to die. And here the tank is clearing, as you can see. I heal that pretty easy. See, pretty easy. That's this is a powerhouse this season, so at least healing isn't an issue like it was last 2 seasons. It was very tight to heal certain things. We just were hard capped on like amount of healing we could do. Luckily, finally, we're in a position where if we actually commit our cooldowns properly, we can heal. And you can see here, I'm just playing like a little mini game with the health bars because, you know, they're just not killing the Thorn quick enough, or maybe I'm just not doing enough healing. This is also another one of those situations where I suggest a rare penance onto your teammate. And here again, you know, just paints up to help Hunter stay alive. I also could have used the Mindbender here, but I guess I was a little bit overwhelmed, so I just, you know, panicked a bit. And here, barrier for the clearing. Yeah. Also, one thing I should note, yeah, is that I'm like, tank is a friend, so, you know, it's not just some random pug. Other people are pugs, which honestly doesn't mean much. They've been, I think they played pretty good this dungeon for week 1, you know, pretty admirable. But yeah, what Rogue is getting frustrated with is he actually has a point. It's the fact that you really want to stack in the melee here, right? Because you don't wanna be in a situation where you're like far away from the team and then everybody has to like waste their time walking to you and hitting and then walking back to the boss. You really want to keep the boss next to the roots, thorns. And one thing I'm doing here, which you shouldn't technically have, is I do have instant radiances that I've kind of kept for emergency purposes. I would say though that that isn't the case once you get a new 2-set or 4-set, right? So don't get too used to it if you don't have your 4-set already. Old 4-set was very strong with instant radiances, but the new set is even better. Also, don't forget that casting radiances buffs your penance by quite a bit. It's a new talent, new thing that you probably all should be playing, yeah. And pretty strong, just something to keep in mind, you know, if you need that extra healing or whatever, it's worth it to cast Radiance, even if it's just for that buff, even if it's like not for the actual healing. Don't forget that Radiance is one of our stronger heals, and regardless, like it heals a lot, finally. Thank you, Blizzard. So it's not just an atonement applier, it is also like a heal, so it's worth using it. Maybe not all the time, you know, because you also want to be kind of careful with your mana. I actually noticed that I do have some mana issues in this season. It's not too much if I play properly, if you have that high uptime on the Shadow Fiend and if you're not, you know, wasting your spells. But as soon as you start like dispelling, or as soon as you start casting your radiances too freely, or applying too many like shields, renews, or flash heals, you'll notice quite a big drop in mana pretty quickly. So do be careful with that, just something to keep in mind. This boss. So this boss is also pretty simple. He will do this Rotten Explosion, and that can deal damage to people if they don't dodge it. It is pretty hard to dodge, it's only a visual that doesn't really show on the ground or anything, so in my opinion it's almost like RNG if you're gonna get hit by it or not. I at least haven't figured out how to dodge it reliably yet, maybe I'm just missing something. But as you can see, this frontal, at least on Fortified week, doesn't even hurt that bad. The idea is you want to dodge the green pulls because they slow you down, and then you want to get away from that portal, and then you just zug the boss. As you can see, he'll do more of these biles, and you want to kill them. Preferably in like a good position, so you know that the pulls are at least, you know, somewhat stacked and not in the way. I'm not sure what the best position to do that is, you know, maybe some back of the room or something. And he also will call these servants that will heal him if they get to him. So you really want to avoid that. The best way to do it is obviously to CC ads, but you know, sometimes that's just not feasible depending on your comp. So, you know, just do your best to keep them away. Not much we can do again, we don't have anything for them, and I don't think even fear works, so you know, just help with the DPS a little bit. I like to turn around and just give them one penance and maybe dot them up and then smite them. But yeah, most important thing this season again is just high uptime on your pet and smite.
Avoid. Personal. Frontal. 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 Ads.
Empowered.
Avoid. Avoid.
And there's the boss. Pretty chill, pretty easy boss. Took quite a while actually, but we got him down. Usually on Fortified bosses don't last this long. But you know, week 1 I guess people still don't have their gear and stuff. Do keep in mind that like at this point we're probably like 30 eye levels below what we should be on this key level, so you know that's very important to note, that people are squishy and they're not doing as much damage as we could. I mean, I'm just looking at my HP here. I have 626k right now, which is just a few days later I actually have 770, close to 800 HP. So like just in like a span of like a few days since recording this video to the point where I'm uploading it, just not even a full week after, I've gained like 200k HPS almost. It's pretty significant, you know. This is like a quarter of your HP. So it's important to note that eye level isn't just damage, it's also survivability. It gives people a lot more HP to work with, which you as a healer, it means a lot for us, especially since we're a burst class. That means for us a lot because it means people are not gonna get one shot as much and then we can just burst heal them. Very useful guys. So that's just something to keep in mind, you know. Don't ever panic if you're trying to heal week 1 and you're like, you feel like people are dying too much and stuff. That's usually not your fault. It's a combination of people not knowing dungeons well enough and making a lot of mistakes, you included, and also people being undergeared. And you know, just as the season progresses, people get more familiar with the dungeons, and you also, and also with the playstyle, with the new 4 sets, and also you get gear. Gear matters a lot in current iteration of World of Warcraft, because in this season they decided to up eye level more than in previous seasons. So like the jump is bigger. So season 2 gear compared to season 3 gear is way bigger jump than season 1 to season 2. Yeah, it's bigger jump in eye level. So therefore it's more meaningful to get gear. So when you get the gear from the new season, you just get a lot more powerful, you get a lot more HP, you get much bigger output, and all these nice things. I would also like to mention a little bit that there's a lot of interesting trinkets this season. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. There's a couple of nice raid ones, there's also like some for damage. Oh yeah, Shaman off-killed here, I remember this. Yeah, he definitely helped with Etch quite a bit. Gamer, that's a gamer move. Where am I going? But yeah, anyway, probably hardest pack incoming in the whole dungeon. Very important thing about this pack in particular is that here people really need to interrupt. These interrupts are probably the hardest part of this dungeon, this pack I mean. Especially, this is probably the biggest glaring weakness of the whole spec, guys. And that is the lack of interrupts. We just do not have an interrupt. This priest doesn't have an interrupt at all. And the only way we have to interrupt anything is by fearing it. And fear sometimes puts us in a bad position. And also fear isn't that great, obviously, because it's not a stun. It doesn't prevent them from casting for a few more seconds. It just stops, and usually they'll just cast again right away. This depends on the mobs and how it's coded, but in a lot of cases fear is sometimes even annoying to people because they end up wasting interrupts and stuff. So, you know, use it, be careful, especially like in AoE situations. Like in Dark Ticket, there's like a couple of amazing pulls where fear is just doing wonders. But overall, not super potent stopper, so just be careful, you know. I would suggest if you're gonna pair with druids, I'm gonna go on a whim here and say something crazy, but maybe look for ferals over boomkins, because boomkins interrupt is like 45-second cooldown. Avoid any ranged interrupts if you can help it. I think Disc really shines in a composition with this heavy melee comp like shamans. If they're enhancement, like rogues with a lot of interrupts, you also want something that can stop them, maybe like a DH tank or DK tank. They're pretty good at like controlling the packs and stopping things. Monk, not the worst either. Just these things where you feel like other people can overly CC because you can't. And then you can focus on doing your output and providing your utility, which is what Priest actually excels at. That's really where our strength comes through. Not interrupts, yeah, and not fixing people's mistakes either. This is something that has been true for Disc for a while, and it still remains true even with the overly simplified playstyle that we currently have. Just something to keep in mind, guys. I like to say this because I remember when I started playing the game and I picked up Disc because I thought it's easy. Oh boy, what a mistake. But it is just a spec that when you're playing into pugs, it just doesn't correct their mistakes. You cannot walk into dungeon and be like, okay guys, I'm gonna carry you with Disc. Disc requires people to actually pull their own weight. Now don't get me wrong, if you're an exceptional player, you can of course mitigate the effect of people's mistakes, and you can do a lot to keep them alive and whatnot, you know. There's a lot of things you can do to kind of, you know, but really where Disc excels at, like really where you really feel the power of this spec, is when people are actually playing good and you can just focus on doing your damage. That's when Discs really starts to look good. You just ask yourself, like, you scratch your head and you're thinking like, how does this healer spec do so much damage? And we really do a lot of both single target and AoE damage at the moment. AoE not that amazing, but our single target is absolutely bonkers. We'll do like, I don't know, like we can do a lot. We can do like 100k even, I think, do like PIs and lusts and bursts and whatnot. But yeah, we can do a lot. We can do a lot for sure. A lot of DPS is possible right now on Disc. Couple of more important things to note is that, you know, just don't sweat if, you know, people are screwing up a lot and you can't feel like you can't keep up with that. Disc isn't a spec that really shines with those things. Disc is a spec where people play good and you're just there to kind of buffer them and make them look even gooder, you know. It's not about you know, just keeping people alive that consistently make mistakes, sadly. I wish it was. Holy Priest is, for example, covering that, especially in Season 4, being really strong. I felt like a lot of keys I could carry on my back, but sadly, Disc is just not designed around that. Disc is designed around... this is a cliche sentence that every Disc guide and every Disc like influencer and YouTuber, Twitcher or whatever, every Disc player says this, but it's because it's totally true. And it's like Disc is all about planning, you know. Disc is about being prepared for the event of damage and being ready to mitigate it with your extremely potent burst heals. Everything else we're not really equipped to deal with fully compared to other healers. We're weak in a lot of, you know, areas that and this is why I also like this new talent, Power Word Life. I don't like the rework, by the way. I'm not a big fan of this rework that I did, where you can't even cast it now if it's, you know, above 30%. But this talent is exactly something the Disc needed, whereas like somebody drops low, and usually like in Shadowlands, for example, you would just say, oh well, he's a goner, like goodbye, it's nice knowing you, buddy. But right now that's not the case. That's not the case. Disc is definitely has that one button that he can save somebody with, but other than that, again, you know, you have to be prepared for the instances of damage. So it really, your knowledge of the dungeons will exponentially increase your success rate, and people's knowledge of the dungeon and their performance will also exponentially increase your success rate as a Disc. That being said, though, we're in a really good spot. We're a very strong healer right now, which does make it so that, you know, even with this all, you know, flaws of the spec, you can still perform pretty well yourself and do some heavy lifting. Again, these guys, you know, they're just jumping, they're just dealing some random AoE damage. Splitting up helps, and just doing some you know, healing like this, like just keeping atonements on everyone, and then just solo doing a lot of smites into your penances, radiances. Keeping up, obviously you want to be casting Shadow Word that as much as possible together with Mind Blast and Penance when your pet is up, because these are the things that will extend it. Then you want to be using Smite to reduce that Penance cooldown, to further cast more Penances to increase your pet uptime. That's just how the cycle of the fight goes. The rotational cycle, I mean, of the disc is just that. It's right now it's pretty streamlined, it's pretty cool as well, and honestly it rarely changes. There is obviously some exceptions when you might want to cast some different spells to keep people alive, because don't forget you're a healer, you're not a DPS, like your rotation is never set in stone. You have to react to what's happening on these annoying little bars you see at the bottom left, well actually middle leftish, but other than that, you know, it's all kind of same as it was to an extent, you know. It's pretty simple. Yeah, so this boss, as you can see, he has this pet. He'll rise the... not pet, it's an undead, I guess. He'll rise these undead servants or whatever they are, his little pets. And the goal is to kill them and then cast this vial to prevent them from getting back up. And that will obviously help you not get overwhelmed in the fight. I've seen what happens if you don't do this mechanic correctly. You just start getting overwhelmed by pets and then people start dying. So, you know, really don't want to be doing that. And yeah, that's about it. It's very exciting. I'm very excited about this season, guys. I can't wait to make more videos. And this time I will actually make a disc guide as well. But I really want to make sure I do my research and do a bunch of keys before I feel like I can talk about it. You know, I don't want to be one of those guys that like touch the spec like 1 week in PTR and now I'm making like guides and being like expert all of a sudden. I'm not saying that's not possible. Maybe these people are just smarter than I am, but I personally like to feel the spec, to play it for a little bit, and then I'll make a good guide for you guys. I'll make sure I'm very detailed and tell you exactly how you can get the most out of this spec, because it is my favorite spec in the game and I really like playing disc, and I'm glad that we're good in both keys and raids this season, so that's super exciting and super fun. Plan to push a bit as well, see how far I can get this season. You know, I've been really wanting to get that title for quite a while, and I've been getting quite close a few times, but never quite there. I always kind of burn out before the end, so I'm just hoping that this season it will be better. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, it was good to finally make this video. I've been wanting to make some videos for a while, but I just, you know, I haven't been playing that much in Season 2 towards the end, so there was nothing to upload. Really excited about the state of the disc this season. As I said, I'll make a pretty cool guide, hopefully, for you guys, and I'll upload more of these key videos. Hope you guys are enjoying them. Hope you guys like the content. If you enjoy it, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. It means a lot for the channel and it helps me keep doing this. And thank you guys so much. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you on the next video as well. Bye bye.
Thank you, heroes.